What's going on, troopers? Welcome to the Trooper Transmission. And today we got my man Nikolai coming in with the Resistance, aka the coolest hat that I've seen in a while. My man, thanks for taking time to come on and share your story and your experience nerding out with the troops of Fit Nerd Academy.
Of course, happy to be here. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me.
So it's coming up on Thanksgiving 2024. And so what I want to do is rewind that clock back a year. Maybe Christmas, maybe Thanksgiving, basically like what was going on before joining that either had you concerned or wasn't where you wanted to be, and ultimately what inspired you to make a change.
Well, yeah, that time last year was always, stress is coming down with work, and I was in the military, in the FBI, college athlete, and it was always, easy to stay in shape, and then life gets at you, as you kind of say in all your videos. One thing leads to another thing, and then you're just compounding, and it was very hard to just find that path forward. And then I started seeing these videos, and me being a Star Wars person who hand built a Star Wars bar in his basement, I always like found it really interesting, started the 30-day workouts, doing them right next to the Millennium Falcon bar, and I was like, this is awesome. Then we had that conversation, and it was cool to have that path forward on learning things that you can do, learn what's working and what's not working. Because it's really easy when you're a college athlete, you have a trainer, you have a coach saying, do this, do that. And then once you get older, more things come down, and it's not as easy to keep that path forward or have that person to, or that community to say, hey, you fell, but let's get you back up and keep moving forward, Trooper. So that was one of the things that really drew me in is the community and then just the nerd aspect of always nerding out on Star Wars like I do.
Yeah. And so for you, with the background as an athlete, former military background, high performer, kind of sounds like throughout your entire life, what do you feel like was the missing piece and what was starting to degrade for you around your health and around your fitness?
I think it was how everything works together. A lot of the things I learned, especially from you, is how like your cardio can impact your weightlifting, how your weightlifting impacts your diet, and then outside of that, the overall meditation aspect and focusing on life and the stressors and dealing with those in a healthy way. Because when you're in a college athlete, you're young, you're easy, your metabolism's high. If you lax on that diet, it was okay because you were burning so many calories and you're young. But now as you get older, it was nice to learn how all those pieces meet together because before it was targeted, be a good swimmer, be a good agent, be a good soldier. But now it's how to be a good person and keep moving forward.
Interesting. So do you kind of look at it as in the past you almost had a reason where it's as an athlete you have the purpose. Okay, I'm trying to win a college championship or get go pro, get drafted, like whatever it is from a athlete standpoint. And then the military, it's very clear what the mission is.
Yeah.
And you have that team in every single scenario where you have the locker room, then you've got your squad or your platoon or whatever it is that you spend a lot of time with, and then you get into everyday civilian life and you're just like, what do I do?
Yeah.
That was a big thing that happened for me once I get out of it. So curious, what for you do you feel like has been the biggest help in recreating that team where you feel like you have that support?
A lot of the big thing was like seeing other people's wins. Like you're in college athlete, you see your friends succeed, they help you succeed. And when you're a soldier, you got every morning PT. When I was in the FBI, we had every morning PT, and it was like seeing everybody's wins. They got the new record, they passed this new test in the PT. And I guess seeing those wins and you're seeing people get achievements while you're getting achievements, it makes you feel like you're not in this alone.
Mm,
Because those teamwork environments, it's a lot easier to strive to do something better when you have your team uplifting you. But without that, you're just kind of yourself and you're kind of saying, what workout works for me? But when you're here and you can see, like, hey, someone, you did a workout, and then you get this notification. It's like someone made it rain confetti for you for hitting your personal best. It makes you feel like seen and it helps keep going and doing it the next day and
yeah.
not hitting that plateau.
I love that you said that, the feeling seen. And I always use this metaphor in my brain where if you're trying to like punch air, it's very tiring. But if you
Hmm.
punch and it lands into a punching bag, it's still tiring, but you're almost met with something for that effort. And I find it's really deflating to hit a PR and then not have anyone to share it with
Yeah.
or not anyone know. Like, yeah, it happens in the gym all the time where you work out and you're like, did anyone see that? But just like having that positive affirmation from someone to just be like, dude, I saw that you did that. Like, that's huge. As much as humans want to pretend that we aren't tribal or that we don't care what other people think, I think it's fair to say that we do. And so it is kind of cool that that stood out to you. Because yeah, you are a high performer and high achiever, but we all still like to be surrounded by people who are winning, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah. And it's the small steps. Like you do these things and you see these people reward you, and then like the challenges you have, little things to keep it interesting. It's great.
Yeah. What would you say some of the keys are for you on managing stress? We've talked a lot about that working together. You kind of mentioned that earlier. You've got a ton of plates spinning in your life constantly. And so what do you
Mhm.
find are the things that help the most?
I think what helps the most is honestly the support you get. I know it all ties back to the support, but like stress happens, as you've told me multiple times, like, hey, I stumbled, I stress ate a pizza because my wife is pregnant, and then work's hammering me, and then I couldn't eat right. I gave into that craving. But it's that support of, hey, as Bruce Wayne learned, why do we fall so we can learn to pick ourselves up? You learn from every mistake. And
Yeah.
one thing of dealing with stress is that yes, there's a healthy way to deal with it. Don't give in to vices, but even if you do, it's not the end of the world. You can keep moving forward and go towards that goal because the goal doesn't stop just because you fell. It's you just got to get back up, get back on track, like we just said 10 minutes ago. Um, and the stress aspect of learning how much all of it combines together. Because, like you said, it was targeted. Swimming was get the best mile time for a swim event I can do. For the military, it's like, hey, I got to do certain things. But this is like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to stay healthy. And then one of the aspects you taught me, like the yoga and meditation, that was one of the things I learned for PTSD coming out. One of my old mentors, he was this Marine Corps second lieutenant that ranked a colonel. He was like one of the soldiers, and we were soldiers. It was a lieutenant who jumped out of Huey's, and he was this complete awesome guy. And he was like 60 years old, standard Marine, like crew cut, really in shape, but he did yoga, and everybody made fun of him. And he's like, it's amazing how much you understand yoga helps you because once you center yourself and go towards that meditation and give into it, you learn how much it impacts your life all throughout. You can't just go throw weights, throw in a gym and expect to feel better. You got to heal all aspects of your life before you can move forward from it.
Yeah. I love having you say that selfishly because you've got like, the big tattoos, big strong
Yeah.
guy, former military, former college athlete. You're grinding away from a work standpoint, and then for you to be like, yeah, it's the slowing down and the Yoda style meditation, you know, intention behind that you found the most helpful. I just think that's so cool because that's what I needed to change
Yeah.
my perspective on what I was doing in my life in my 20s and wasn't happy and what was slowing me down fitness wise and nutrition wise. And I'll tell anyone yoga changed my life, but it's not something that normally you lead with because people are going to look at you sideways and wonder if you're going to like float and zen out of everything. And like
No,
correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't need to be this like fingers together float zen. It's just like
no.
slowing down and being mindful.
It's taken that one moment to really just be in the present. That was like one of the biggest things that I learned through my PTSD treatment is it's about being in the present because you're so focused on what can happen, what's going to go wrong, what do I need to do next. Work is having this, but you're not in the moment. And that's where like I loved your yoga sessions because it gave them a little Star Wars nerd aspect and it was nice, easy moment. They were quick. I could recenter myself, understand where I am in the moment, and I could be with my wife when she was having troubles. I could focus and turn off work and just be with myself and my own thoughts. And
Hmm.
it was very nice. And I think that was one of the hardest things was to slow down. I'll never forget when you told me like we're running and you're like, hey, you're running at 170 beats per minute. I'm like, yeah, for like 30 minutes straight, just cranking out as fast as I can. He's like, you were like, slow that down. And I think that was one of the biggest things where it was like a lot easier. He's like, you're stressing out here, you're stressing out here. Find your way to de-stress and slow down. Because once you slow down, you can finally enjoy the moment and you don't
Hmm.
need to be all go all the time.
Yeah, that's massive. And for you, we were talking about this earlier. What would you say some of the biggest either milestones, achievements, marks that you've noticed? And maybe you don't tie them back to yoga, but just the process of being able to like take all of the information out there, all of the goals, and just streamline it, and then be intentional about when you do push. Because I think that's the biggest thing I've seen you really excel at is be able to take all of the chaos that's going on in your life and being like, okay, cool, recenter. What am I focusing on right now?
Yeah, I think my biggest lessons when I was right before we started, kind of forgot about this before, but I was in the VA and my VA doctor was like, hey, you might have fatty liver. Are you drinking more? And I was like, no, I'm not. I don't know what it is. And your weight gain is up. And then he was like, well, this needs to change for your health and your
Cardio.
cholesterol was higher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I was having trouble with running too with asthma. Came back, college athlete, not used to asthma, taking an inhaler every time I run. Wasn't sure what was going on. And then just like you said, the stress, it was hard. My wife was really sick in the beginning, so it was hard for me to even get out. And you found a way to be like, hey, I know you can't get to the gym, but here's some workouts you can do so you don't have to leave your wife and you can still get some 15 to 20 minutes of yourself because it's also about um, you too, to make sure you're okay. You can't make sure she's okay if you don't make sure you're okay.
Hmm.
And some of the biggest wins that I've seen were I went back to the doctor, what was it, 2, 3 weeks ago, and he's like, I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up because your blood work looks hundreds of times better. I had a 40-point drop in cholesterol and like my liver test results, and he just can't understand how much better I'm doing. He goes, you even look just healthier, you look less stressed, you look more in the moment. And those kind of wins for me, especially in a chaotic world where I have a high stress job and I have a baby on the way in like 3 weeks. So you'd think I'd be even more stressed, but the program we have been working with, I even feel better than I was my before my wife got pregnant. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I smile and laugh to myself both out loud, and you can see my smile. Just having a 15-week-old now, and knowing what's coming. Because for a while I didn't, I had no idea. And I'll say this: it's actually been way better than I anticipated. I thought it was going to be this
Yeah.
like crazy chaotic thing, and it may be. Every baby's different, but it's one of those things where I love that you made this a priority before it then became harder because another variable was added to the board, right? Like another
Yeah.
chess piece was added, and you're like, all right, cool, I'm gonna handle this now, as opposed to waiting for the perfect time. Because there's a lot of reasons you could have said, like, hey, it's not a good time. Work's asking you to work, 16-hour days, wife's, pregnant, and you're having to help her out. But I just want to applaud you for being able to say, like, a little bit is good enough because that little bit compounds and that makes me a better man for the people that need me at work, at home, and everything else in between.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it's nice, like you said, you had the support. So when I was getting low and I couldn't like record a workout, and it was like, hey, I know I did these workouts and I couldn't record it. Kind of going back to the family support of the group, it was nice, like having a rough day, wife was sick. I just got a quick workout in. It wasn't my best, but someone still took the time out of the day and they were like, hey, great job up there. You did awesome, just even like doing things. And it was nice because it's like, all right, in those times where you're really busy and don't even get to leave the house, taking care of the wife, run downstairs, and then the community reaches out and does these things. It was nice to have that like background support of everyone there.
Yeah, absolutely. Any final words that you'd say to, again, like that younger version of yourself? We've covered a lot of like the keys for your success, but any perspective shifts that you would maybe give to someone or maybe a younger version of yourself? Talk to yourself 4 years ago and just be like, hey man, stop doing this, focus on this. You're going to be pumped that you did.
Take your time, everything will come. The scale is not the only way to measure success. Success comes for a whole body of how you feel at the end of the day and how everything feels and your confidence level. And just because you have these short failures does not mean you did anything wrong. Failures happen. Don't beat yourself up about it and keep trying, because once you stop trying, that's when you fail. But as long as you're still trying, there's still hope out there for you to keep moving.
Mm. And I love the Batman quote that you pulled in with that as
Yeah.
well. I can picture the scene. And for as big of a Star Wars fan as I am, I
Yeah.
actually really like those films and that arc because there's so many parallels, obviously, to Star Wars and the hero's journey, but there's so many lessons in just taking the thing that used to defeat you and turning that into a weapon as well.
Yeah.
Right. And so little Batman action, little
Yeah.
resistance action. We got the Rock and the Warrior. So, my man, thank you so much for the time, the work you've put in, and just sharing your journey for other troopers to learn from and be inspired by.
Welcome, sir. Thank you for having me. It was great to talk.